Valhalla stealth has been a hated thing in the AC community. Some may say that it doesn't even exist, that it is similar to the likes of Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, or a modern Ubisoft game without microtransactions. So I decided to create a guide based on my ghosting playstyle to try and show how stealth in Valhalla works. Now, I am not an expert, and these are all based on my experience and understanding of the mechanics. I could be wrong, that's a possibility, so just keep that in mind. So, first thing to do is accept and understand that Valhalla stealth is not perfect, and it is challenging. And we can say this about any stealth game or genre actually. To me, I think Valhalla stealth, at least the direction it went to, was too realistic. And I know some of you are raising your eyebrows right now, like, too realistic? Enemies would see me through walls and stuff. And yes, that could happen, I've seen some videos. But those were a couple of years back. Now in 2024, while it could still happen, it is very rare. To me, those only happened when I was safe scumming to create videos. But during normal gameplay, I don't think I encountered that. And so for this guide, I want to first tackle this topic, enemy detection. So from my experience, enemies will detect Eivor faster when you are in a high profile position. And by high profile, I mean when you're aiming your bow, sprinting, or doing an assassination in view of an enemy. So for example, even when you're hiding in grass or hay, when you pop out and aim your bow, enemies looking in your direction will notice you instantly. Their SSI meter will start filling up even if you are not looking at them. Now, depending on your distance from them, you can be insta-spotted. This is what I think some players are experiencing. You may be aiming your bow and didn't see that enemy in your blind spot that was directly looking at you. I'm gonna show some clips here of me playing around this mechanic. I'll also add some notes, so you may have to read some stuff. Sorry.
Now what?
It is also worth noting that enemies in Valhalla have stress levels. It is not shown visually in the UI, however, just know that when enemies see dead bodies or have become suspicious of something already, they can detect you faster. I also want to share that I found it easier to avoid getting detected by just passing through levels or ghosting through them instead of eliminating every guard in an area. Like, only assassinate enemies when there is high risk of being caught. This is because you're less likely to be seen doing high profile stuff. Believe me, I'm talking from experience. There were cases in my normal playthrough where I could have just ghosted through an area, but because I decided to shoot an enemy for experience, I got spotted by another guard. So yeah, I guess the lesson here is always be aware of your surroundings in Valhalla. Time every high profile moves when no enemies are looking in your direction. Next, I want to talk about the disguise mechanic. You see, I've seen videos of people failing to use the disguise mechanic since they expect it to work like an invisibility skill, or maybe even the blend ability from Assassin's Creed 1. However, this mechanic behaves more similarly to Hitman's disguise system. So basically, it works best when you keep your distance from enemies and you're looking away from them so they don't see your face. So this means you can't just walk between guards since they will likely spot you when you come close. Instead, use the disguise mechanic to get into certain positions and then maybe use other tools to deal with the guards. It is also important to know that guards will detect you faster if you are running or sprinting, even when you are in a disguise. So it is better to walk at least when you are close to an enemy. But if you're a risk taker, you can also use the disguise mechanic to lure guards. Similar to the whistle. Just let yourself get seen by enemies a few times and eventually they will want to talk to you. You can then walk and lure them to an isolated spot to give them candy. Next, let's discuss the torch. The torch has become one of my favorite tools in the RPG games and also in Mirage. The reason being is that the torch behaves similarly to rocks or throwable coins in other stealth games. You see, you can use the torch to lure and distract enemies. It's like a lower version of a noisemaker. In some cases, it is even better since it attracts only enemies that are really close to the torch. And so, the torch can sometimes be the best tool to use when ghosting, since it serves as a useful distraction. Also, if you throw it directly to an enemy, they will get burned and even potentially die. Even if they burn, you won't get spotted, making it a stealth tool. And also, we have an infinite supply of torches, which is funny. Next, let's talk gear. To be honest, gear is not really that important in Valhalla Stealth. This is because most bonuses from gears are combat oriented. Most give bonuses to damage types and resistances. Nothing really interesting, to be honest. So you can choose whichever set you want. For me, I prefer the Wayland armor set since it boosts assassination damage and melee damage. For runes that you add in gear, you can also put anything you want, but it may be worth it to focus on boosting stealth and ability damage. This is so you can effectively use stealth attacks that are not assassinations. So for example, you may want to do a stealth attack with the harpoon. Having good ability damage will make sure that your harpoon will kill the enemy in one hit. But yeah, that's really it for gear. For skills, you can pick whichever you like, but same as in runes, you may want to focus first on stealth damage, ability damage, and assassinations. This will make sure you have decent stealth damage when doing those sneak attacks. Investing in hunter damage can also be good if you want to do some sniping with bows. But if you decided to turn on the instant assassination mode, then I guess you can skip the assassination points. Still, you may want to also put points in the Raven nodes since those increase stealth related stats. There are also some good skills that can aid in stealth like the guided arrow for the Predator bow. It will really come down to your playstyle and preference. So look over the skill tree and see which one you like. Lastly, abilities. Now these are the things that will surely boost your stealth experience. And I think being able to incorporate abilities with stealth is something that Ubisoft should explore more in their upcoming games. So there are a lot of abilities in Valhalla and I'll just go through some that I think are good for doing stealth. So let's start with melee abilities. For this category, I think the best ones are the Harpoon Impalement, Throwing Axes, and the Feign Death ability. Using the harpoon in stealth or not is always satisfying due to the cool animation. So it's good that you can also use it in stealth and not get instantly detected. Throwing Axes is similar to the harpoon, however this one is kind of risky since if you don't have enough damage, you may end up getting spotted and not killing every target of the ability. So I suggest only using this when there are few enemies or when you are sure that you have enough damage to deal with all the enemies. For Feign Death, well, that one is self-explanatory. Oh, and I almost forgot, there is also the Blinding Rush ability. This is a slowdown time ability and is very good for ghosting. I noticed with this ability that when you use it while you are hiding in grass, enemies won't be able to spot you even if you walk in front of them. However, if you use this ability outside of grass, enemies will detect you when you move near them. Alright, now for the range abilities. These are the actual abilities meant for stealth. There are a lot of abilities here, so I'll just talk about a few. And then maybe just add some clips of other abilities that I forgot to mention. One of the most powerful stealth abilities is the Thorn of Slumber, or basically sleep arrows. Especially when it is level 2 since it becomes a cloud and affects a decently large area. And Eivor can easily assassinate all the enemies that were put to sleep. Of course, alternatively, you can just walk past the sleeping enemies. You know, when you're ghosting. Then there's also the Plague of Rats ability, or what I call the Rat Arrow. This is an arrow that basically summons a swarm of rats which can kill a group of enemies. You get this from the Siege of Paris DLC. While this ability seems overpowered, it is really fun watching the rats decimate fully armored soldiers. Now let's talk about the Raven Distraction, which is seen in distracting enemies. This is a good ability since it kind of stuns an enemy and even makes them temporarily blind, allowing you to walk past them. By level 2, Sinin will even stun the guards, which you can take advantage of either by doing a finisher or passing by them. Also, I want to note something about the Smoke Arrow. If you want to keep the smoke bomb effect, make sure you do not apply the ability. You see, the smoke arrow is great the first time you get it. It behaves as a standard smoke bomb, blinding and stunning enemies, and letting you assassinate them easily. However, if you upgrade the ability, it turns into a combustible smoke. While it is still good since the explosion and burning will almost always kill enemies, it is horrible for ghosting. You see, a lot of areas in Valhalla have torches, campfires, and other burning items, and so the combustible smoke will almost always explode, so it is hard to use reliably as a smoke bomb. So yeah, keep that in mind. After I discovered this, I wish that there was a mechanic in the game where I could reset the levels of ability. Unfortunately, there isn't. So yeah, now I'm gonna insert clips for other abilities or maybe items that I may have forgotten. I'll try to keep it short but also informative. Enjoy!
What? What's all that about?